The Dallas Cowboys have made a sneaky signing after having yet another injury to a key position. Today, we tell you about this injury and who the Cowboys brought in to try and help out. Plus, who could be next for the Cowboys to sign? We have a report talking about it all here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning into the show. We've got a lot to cover here today with an injury, a signing, and a potential signing the Cowboys actually talked about. We'll tell you all the latest right here on the show, but before that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free, and of course, we're covering the Dallas Cowboys every single day of the year, and we don't want you to miss out on all the news that is about to come out over training camp. This is the press release the Cowboys gave us saying Kalin Carson, a cornerback, he will miss time with an injury, and in turn, the Cowboys did sign Christian Matthew. Now, we have the official report here from Adam Schefter, where we have the Cowboys signing former Ravens cornerback Christian Matthew. Now, Christian Matthew is not a great NFL cornerback, but I will preface by saying anybody the Ravens tried to bring in at cornerback, I like to have on my roster, because if you look at the history of the Ravens secondary, it's a very good one. They have always had a very good secondary, and that includes cornerback, safety. So the fact that he was there, I'll take it. I like it. Now, recently, he played with the Arizona Cardinals. That was his most recent actual NFL time. But let's start by talking about the Kalin Carson injury, because this is a guy that I really thought was going to be a shoo-in to make the roster, and not just make the roster, but potentially have some playing time given the injuries we've had at cornerback already. This is all from the Cowboys press release, and it says, quote, "The second-year cornerback suffered a hyperextended knee in padded practice on Monday and could miss upwards of the next 2 months. The timing of the injury, similar to Guyton's, does give him a chance of being available for the season opener against the Philadelphia Eagles. However, this is barring a setback." And this is a tough time for Kalin Carson. Second-year guy, last season, 6 games, 24 tackles. He's just 23 years old. And given the injuries we've already had to the cornerback slot, it was seeming like he was going to be a key contributor for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, not just that, but also you need the reps for him in training camp. And yeah, he might be back for week 1, but this is such a key time. I mean, talking about Guyton's injury and him being gone, it's a young guy. You want him to have a full training camp. And similarly with Carson, you want them to have a full training camp so they can develop more and more under the watch of the Dallas Cowboys. Because obviously in the offseason, they're going OTAs, they're going minicamp, they're doing workouts of their own. But training camp is when the entire staff, the entire basically franchise is in Oxnard, and you want to have everybody who is in the younger part of their career there to build off it and have the Cowboys coaching staff and scouting staff really just have them watching him to create a better standard here for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, obviously, this will force Carson to miss valuable time, and so once again from the press release saying, quote, "That said, Carson will miss valuable time in camp and throughout the entire preseason, and at a position the Cowboys can ill afford to lose bodies." They continue on here saying that Trevon Diggs and Josh Butler are currently on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, and we have rookie third-round pick Stephon Gilmore Jr., who is working back from a NFI injury, in which that is a torn ACL from college. This all makes the loss of Carson very big for the remainder of camp. Now, it's tough because the cornerback room, you kind of like where you're at in some ways as long as everybody's healthy. Because Trevon Diggs, you talk about Kaiir Elam signing him, he's been fantastic. Stephon Gilmore Jr., it's going to be a very good cornerback room when healthy. But if you're not going to have a healthy cornerback room through the entirety of camp, it really makes for a struggle. And so that's why they signed Matthew. Now, Matthew is an interesting guy because will he make the 53-man roster? I don't know, but he has a really good shot of doing a practice squad number, especially with all the injuries. Once again, from the press release, they say, quote, "Matthew isn't completely unfamiliar to some of the Cowboys staff, considering he had a short stay with the Chicago Bears during the Matt Eberflus era before going on to suit up for the Ravens," end quote. Now, that's a little bit disingenuous because he never actually suited up for the Ravens. If we look at his stats in the NFL, he's played 2 seasons. Every time he's appeared in a game, it was with the Arizona Cardinals. And in total, he's played 18 total games, having 20 tackles, 13 solos, 7 assists, and 3 pass deflections, a majority of those stats coming in his rookie year back in 2022. This is a late-round pick and a guy who has a lot of good intangibles, but I think the hard part about it is he just doesn't have the football mindset as a cornerback should. So that's where the Cowboys are going to have to kind of make this a working project. But again, as I've stated before, anybody the Ravens have had, I really kind of like to talk about because their secondary has been in a very good spot. Now, the Cowboys secondary is in an interesting spot. Like I said, the cornerback room consists of Trevon Diggs, Caelen, obviously you have Kalin Carson who's injured, and Trevon Revel Jr., and of course cannot forget Deron Bland. When you have Elam, Bland, and Diggs all out there, you feel really confident, especially with the camp that Kaiir Elam has had. But as of right now, your cornerback room in total at training camp, when you can have 90 guys on the roster, you have Deron Bland, Kaiir Elam, who are healthy, and then after that, there's not many people. Andrew Booth, like Keeman Hall, there is not a lot of guys that are healthy. And that's exactly why they made that signing of Christian Matthew. If not to have him on the roster, but to have actual good reps at training camp for even the offensive sake. Because when you're at training camp and you're playing against your cornerbacks, you don't want to have Deron Bland guarding George Pickens every single down early on. You want to be able to kind of have the second strings in there about them. And without the injured players that we have, it creates a hard situation for how the Cowboys are going to manage training camp practices. So you have a guy with a lot of good intangibles, but maybe not the greatest of a football mindset in Christian Matthew. And what I'm telling him is go out there and there's a practice squad available for you because that's how bad the cornerback room is injured right now. We want to have a couple guys on our practice squad in the secondary. He could easily fit that notion, and who knows what could happen. Now, I did kind of give you a little bit of a tease in Stephon Gilmore at the top of the show. That's because in this press release, the Cowboys brought up Stephon Gilmore, but I'll warn you, it's a bit of a letdown. Here's the quote from the press release saying, quote, "They had an impromptu and unofficial talk with Stephon Gilmore this offseason, but," and here's the big thing, "there is currently nothing brewing and or imminent with the former Defensive Player of the Year," end quote. Why? That kind of stinks. I really wanted them to sign Stephon Gilmore, if not for an actual cornerback level talent, but a presence in the locker room for the rest of the cornerbacks. I know that his primetime days are definitely done, but like they said, he's a former Defensive Player of the Year. It's a position that has been beat down and bruised over training camp and over the past year. Bring him in. Bring him in, if not to just see. I mean, I know you have to have two parties to tango in this, and he'd have to accept whatever offer you're giving to him, but I really would like to see him come into this team and just potentially help out in any way possible. But as of right now from the report, it seems like that is not going to be the case, at least for now. Nothing is out of the question as we get later on in the season, especially if we get into week 3, week 4, and the cornerback room is still at an injured position. Now, there is Asante Samuel Jr. and a couple other cornerbacks that are still available, but for right now, Cowboys are keeping that room light, especially with trying to get Micah Parsons on a pretty big contract. Now, the last thing we have for you today is from the press release. I mentioned it early on in today's report, but Kaiir Elam is having a standout camp to complement all-pro cornerback Deron Bland. So there is at least a glimmer of light peeking through the dark, end quote. It's true. Kaiir Elam has been great, and Deron Bland is Deron Bland. But I still can't help but look at this cornerback room, and to put it in a bad way, it is the most injured part of the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the offensive line and losing Tyler Guyton for the next 4 to 6 weeks is tough. You get an injury with Rob as well, but having Kaiir Elam be the top guy out there, and then injuries to now Kalin Carson, Trevon Diggs, Stephon Revel Jr., and Josh Butler all in one room is a very tough spot, especially when in a training camp aspect and a training camp light, you want to have as many cornerbacks ready and available to challenge and test the new offense that Coach Schottenheimer is working on. with the way that he's going to try and run this offense with different formations, different ways they're going to set their feet, and, we're going to have Wildcat under center, shotgun, all the stuff that he has mentioned. I want to have the top-tier quarterbacks and a plethora of the top-tier quarterbacks out there to challenge the Dallas Cowboys offense so that we're not going to get to week 1 playing the Philadelphia Eagles and it be our first time in some ways playing competitive talent. Now, we have preseason. I know there's a bunch of different things that can supplement that, but when you are talking about training camp and injuries kind of buffering it, it's a little bit deeper than you think, and that's why I think this signing is a very kind of sneaky one, because it may not be for the purpose of getting a quarterback to play at an NFL actual game for them, but to have depth in training camp, to have depth in the preseason games, to have a depth piece for a practice squad signing. It is very, very key, and I'm a diehard football fan, and I know it, but 53-man rosters are a huge thing, and 90-man rosters allow you to be more selective with it all. And so I'm happy that we have this time, and that's exactly why the signing was made. So we'll have to see what happens, though. Stephon Gilmore, maybe. I don't know. I need some health back, though, from my cornerback room really, really quick. We appreciate each and every single one of you watching today's video. As always, if you made it to the end, you can make sure you hit that subscribe button because you're enjoying the content if you made it to the end of the video. Well, for now, though, we're going to say see you later and peace out here from Cowboys Digest.